The costs of owning and maintaining a home have soared, up 26% since 2020, according to one analysis. And home insurance is a major piece. That's up 20%. One of the reasons? Climate change.
We've got a lot of economic news this week, and NBC Nightly News took a look at the rising cost of insurance, and they had a creative explanation for everyone. Take a look.
The costs of owning and maintaining a home have soared, up 26% since 2020, according to one analysis. And home insurance is a major piece. That's up 20%. One of the reasons? Climate change. Last year, the United States had a record 28 separate weather and climate disasters costing at least $1 billion, with insurance companies losing money in 16 states. And now many insurers are dropping customers from their policies, sometimes leaving entire states.
Thank you to our friends over at Media Research Center for finding that one. I would have missed it. Okay, Krista Galler, is this the issue, the carbon emissions causing greenhouse gases, which changes the planet's temperature, thus affecting major climate change phenomenon that end up increasing our home insurance costs? Therefore, we should all stop eating hamburgers. Am I connecting the dots properly here? I just want to get it right.
That's about right. Have a nice day. Thanks, Larry. No, of course, that's ridiculous. I mean, we were just talking about it in the previous segment. Does anybody know how much it costs to build a house per square foot these days? I mean, my wife and I are in a house that we just bought 3 years ago. And I can tell you right now that if we went to buy that same house at current interest rates, it really wouldn't be practical for us. I mean, the price of our mortgage would go up that much that we probably really couldn't justify doing it. It costs a fortune to rebuild a house right now. And so to me, I think insurance companies aren't really telling the truth, or NBC News certainly isn't. That's not why. It's not climate change. I mean, in fact, I think statistically, as a matter of fact, tornadoes and hurricane activity have certainly been dramatically higher than they've been in recent years. So it's the cost of doing business to fix properties that's the problem.
Well, and Alfredo, I think it should be also pointed out that one of the reasons why we've got all this inflation is because of the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which after they passed it, they relabeled it the Green New Deal Act or the Climate Change Effect Act. I mean, if you're really going to try to focus on what climate change is doing to our economy and making things cost more, how about all of that government spending forcing us to get new electric vehicle chargers for how many billions of dollars? And they've only installed 9 so far.
Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I was really laughing at that little clip there. Because it just really is just, it's again, the replacement value, right? I mean, Chris said it already is, that's gone up 30-40%.
Yeah.
And by the way, look at car insurance, right? Auto insurance rates, those have gone up about 30-40% because cars have gotten more expensive too.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with climate change. It's literally replacement cost. Anybody who knows anything about insurance knows that it's an actuarial table, right? The odds of it happening times the odds of the cost of it happening, right? And if the cost is going to go up, the rates have to go up. It's that easy.
But Alfredo, there's another reason why we saw this segment from NBC News, because everybody in America is experiencing the same thing as we've discussed today. And everything is costing more. And immediately the instinct is to blame the guy in charge. So NBC News, they've got to give you another explanation. It can't be Biden's fault. It can't be the Democrats' fault. And it certainly couldn't be big government spending fault. So they're just grasping, they're just trying to grab whatever they can.
Yeah, it's just really actually pretty pathetic. Again, Patrice said it, gaslighting the American public, right? I mean, this is just pretty much their MO. They have no other reason that they can actually justify this kind of increase other than it was other than Biden, right? It had to be somebody else's fault. I mean, this is the one thing about this administration that they're very good at, which is basically passing blame to other people, like the greedy profiteers, the gasoline owner stations, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Patrice, they're not really using the term Bidenomics anymore. Have you noticed that? I thought that was going to be a big part of their campaign.
Yeah, it's fallen flat, and I think people have correlated Bidenomics with rising prices, unaffordability, and just an economy that is not working for Americans. And I think there's the regulatory piece. I think very often what goes into insurance rates and who gets insured is, on the back end of having to do payouts, or in the front end of, what are the new regulatory hoops that a lot of these companies now are, on the hook for. They have to cover things that they didn't have to cover before, and whether that has to do with climate mandates or whether that has to do with other labor mandates and policies at the federal and state level. All of this has a cumulative effect on how much it costs to do business in America. And sadly, and Alfredo knows this too well, we're seeing the shrinking of Main Street, and only the survivors are really just the big businesses that can afford to hire the teams of lawyers to figure out all the regulations, and then they pass those costs on to you and I as regular consumers. So we can't leave out that regulatory impact as well. Regulations drive prices too.
Oh, but Patrice, we need all those regulations to combat climate change. You see, Chris, we're laughing at this. We're mocking NBC News. We're rolling our eyes. Do normal Americans do this now too at this point? The news has sort of become a joke here. It's obvious. We can see it's so transparent what they're trying to do.
Well, it seems in polling they're laughing. I mean, this particular issue of climate change continues to come in just darn near dead last on a list of something like, 15, 16 issues that people are polled that they care about right now. It's just demonstrably false. And I mean, anybody that's lived on the coast or anybody that's lived in the Midwest and experienced tornadic activity, I mean, it's provably silly and untrue that there's, more horrible weather than there used to be, or whatever it is they claim. I mean, we're actually living it, just like we're living high gasoline and grocery costs, and they keep telling us it's fine, it's great, things are great. I mean, you can keep saying it, but it ain't what we're living.
Well, listen, we would love to expand this segment a little further and discuss it some more, but that would be bad for the climate, I'm told. So let's just wrap this one up.